Welcome back to episode 332 of the Tallboy Radio podcast. And as we always say, who knows where it goes when the beer flows? Well, that beer has flowed away and it's flowed back again. It's brought in some flotsam and jetsam with it. And before I say hello to Gaz, I do need to say hello to a number of other countries. Now, before Gaz went on his holiday, which seems like a long time ago, we recorded 3 episodes in that time. It actually isn't. But we were waiting to see where country number 89 were going to come from, didn't we?
Yes, yeah. I remember we were like, oh, I wonder which one will be the next one. And then I think I'd got a message, and I'm not exactly sure how many new ones we have, but I think I got a message and you were like, the wheel's gone mad. We've got like loads of countries. I was like, oh, okay. How many have we got? And I still don't know is a simple answer.
115.
No. No way.
Yeah, I've got 7 more to say hello to tonight. So hello, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Nigeria, Albania, Kuwait, Macau, Mozambique, Namibia, and much like Umbongo, we are popular in the Congo.
Oh, well, brilliant. You know what? And many more countries jump on board the Tall Boy Radio bandwagon. And welcome along, all you listeners out there in that happy listener land.
Indeed, indeed. So our guest who joins us tonight is not from any of those countries. And I tell you what, we're very popular in Vietnam. I've seen that rocketing up the charts in our listenership, but that's another matter. We'll say hello to Cheryl, and you can say hello to us and tell us a little bit about why we've invited you on the podcast.
Hi, this is Cheryl. I create, I design, I create, and build escape rooms.
That's it. So we put out a post just recently in a geocaching Facebook group. And we asked for anybody who's going to come and talk to us. And honestly, it's the most fruitful post I've ever put on Facebook because this is the 4th episode we've done off the back of this one.
Yeah.
And when Cheryl messaged and said, yeah, I'd love to come on and talk about escape rooms, I thought, well, do you know what I mean? We've been doing 3 episodes on geocaching, escape rooms. It's in that sort of ballpark, it's that sort of hobbyist sort of time. So we thought, definitely, let's get Cheryl on and find out about it. And I was amazed to hear, Cheryl, that the man to my left here has never done an escape room because he seems like the perfect.
I know. I can't. I genuinely can't believe it because I mean, Beans is right. They sound right up my street. I mean, I love a good puzzle and I love I love sort of solving things and trying to figure stuff out. And I don't know why I haven't really, even sort of through work and like you have the odd sort of corporate day and you go. I just never seem to have been in them, and like so my wife and my kids they've all done them, and it's just something that seems to sort of pass me by. So I'm fascinated by them. I really don't understand why I haven't done one. And I can't actually wait to find out a little bit more about how they're built, how they're designed, how do you choose your themes and all of that sort of stuff. So can't really wait to get into this. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Indeed. So why don't you tell us then, Cheryl, a little bit about how you got into it?
Well, we had a sign business where we made like signs, literally like anything from a small sticker to a digital sign. We did all kinds of signs. My husband had a birthday. I invited some couples. We all went to an escape room. We did the escape room. We left, and I looked at my husband, and it was like for the first time in my life, I was like, I am good at this. I know this. This is my brain. I've found something I can do. I'm in my 40s and I know what I want to be when I grow up. So I just looked at him and I said, I can do this better. I know I can. And he was like, do it. And we had extra space in our shop. And I spent, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, in my spare time, just putting a room together. And at the end, it was around New Year's. I had a big New Year's Eve party. Invited a bunch of friends over, and I stuffed them in this escape room. And I said, this is like in, I think, about 2017 or 2018. And I said, okay, you guys have to escape. And they're like, what? Like most people didn't know what an escape room was yet, right?
Yeah.
So, but they loved it. And I started getting calls from other people saying, hey, I heard you have an escape room. And I'm like, maybe I should be charging for this. So that's kind of how I got started.
That's a mad way to get started.
It is.
Right.
I mean, you said there, you sort of, you went to one and you said you knew what you wanted to do when you grow up. You see, that's a problem for me because I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. And I'm 52 52, nearly 53. So yeah, that when I find out what it is that I want to do, maybe I'll hit on something. But it sounds intriguing, and genuinely, I've done. There was a program in, I don't know where they had it in the US, but there's a program in the UK, it's just a comment that's come up, and it mentions a crystal maze, and I've done the crystal maze, which I suppose might be similar. I don't know is a simple answer, and I enjoyed that. So yeah, I can't wait to do an escape room, I'm fascinated just by like I say the design of it and the puzzles and how much. I suppose not AI. I suppose how much technology you need and how much is physical and how much is technology, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So we have a mixture. I have found we had some stuff that we automated a lot of, and there are people that do like that. But I feel like most of the time, people that are doing the escape rooms, and I'm not saying all, but I would say more than not, they like to physically do the thing instead. Like if it's a lock or if it's placing this here or whatever, they like to physically do the thing to make it happen, if that makes sense. So we do have tech, and a lot of times it's kind of behind the scenes and people don't even realize that it's tech. Now my husband has an electrical background, so he does all of that. He kind of has self-taught how to set up like automatic things to work automatically. We kind of, there's some things that a lot of escape rooms do that we kind of shy away from just because of the fail rate. So like Arduino, things like that. I've been in rooms where it failed and like I'm like, okay, that's what it was. And it's not the escape room's fault because you don't know when something like that's going to go wrong. So we just avoid them altogether.
Yeah.
So we we really literally just do it all ourselves. Like we figure it out. When we find a puzzle, we just figure out a way to make it work.
Funnily enough, I did an escape room. We did one with work in Newcastle, and there was 3 teams doing different escape rooms. And it was basically, let's see who can get out the fastest. So the people who were with me basically drew the short straw, and so we had the team in there. We were getting through it, and we got to the very end of it. And you had to place these magnets. This was my idea anyway. You had to place these magnets in a specific position in a pattern that I'd felt that I'd determined correctly. And then the door would open.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I had them placed and absolutely nothing happened. And everybody was giving me loads. So like, I knew you got it wrong. It's absolute nonsense. And I knew we shouldn't have listened to you. But it turned out that was actually the correct thing. And the magnetic lock had just failed.
Just didn't work.
Yeah, it just didn't fail.
All right.
That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. That's why I didn't.
It unfortunately it happens. Hopefully seldom. We rarely have something go wrong. 99% of the time I'll be like really upset and oh my gosh, it failed. And my husband goes, he's like, it's user error. 99% of the time they're not doing it correctly. but there are times that we have had failures, but it typically doesn't happen.
Well, interesting enough. So we got a guy called Ruku on it. And he's been on the podcast before. He is a beer taster, and he's left a comment on here to ask you a question. So I think he's looking for any hints and tips for people. Now, are there any tricks of the trade? Not he used the word cheats. There might be cheats. I don't know. You can tell us.
Cheats. So this is what I would say. Every escape room, first of all, is going to be different. But if you go to a chain, like, or a franchise escape room, that's a very different than going to one where somebody is building it themselves.
Yeah.
If you go to the chains and their success rate goal is 100%. And my success rate, I don't have a goal for success rate. I have a goal for fun. So I want to give you a lot of fun, and I want you to have, if I say this is going to take you an hour, it's going to take you very close to an hour to finish, right? But saying that, I would say a lot of people, first of all, they don't keep track of the time, so they don't know how much time is passing. They don't want to ask for clues. And if you're stuck on something, not asking for a clue is, I mean, if nobody can figure it out, ask for the clue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people don't want to do that. And it's like you might be right there on the precipice of, like it might be the only clue you need, and you're just gonna like sail through the rest of the room. But people, they just get stuck on that one thing, and it's like, don't get stuck on one thing. Also, don't be afraid to look where someone else has already looked if you're in an escape room, because different brains think differently. And I can't tell you how many times somebody will do something and it doesn't work, look in a place or look for something and they don't find it. Somebody else will come along and find it, or they find something and they don't know what to do with it, so they take it to a different location. Leave it where you find it, and hopefully you'll come to the place where like somebody will come up there and they'll know what to do with it. So for my escape rooms, what I do is I try to make sure that there's something in the room, each space, for everybody to do. So all the different brain types, because I'm kind of like a studier of the brain.
Yeah.
So if you're working on a puzzle and it's not clicking, I say no more than 3 to 5 minutes. If you're not like getting something within that time frame, move on to something else. Go do something, find something different to do, because it's just probably not how your brain thinks, which is fine. Like there's things I have to research to put into the room that I'm not good at, but I know other people are good at. So if that makes sense. So those are some little things that you can kind of, don't get stuck. That's a big one.
Yeah. In terms of the escape room is, and again, I suppose it depends which escape room you go to, but are there multiple rooms within an escape room and you have physically moved from room A to room B to room C, or is everything housed within one big room and there's lots of different puzzles within that one room?
You're right. Every escape room is different. And actually, I have 3 different types of rooms. So I have one room that is, it's for smaller groups, 2 to 5 people. It's very linear. There's 2 paths. Like there's always I always make sure there's at least 2 things, people can be doing at the same time. That way people aren't standing around just like, what?
Yeah.
And then I have another room where you split up. Like it's a treehouse room. So people are under the treehouse and people are above the treehouse. 2 different paths, right? One's linear, one's multilinear. And then I have another one. It's a pirate ship. So you're in the same space, but there's 3 decks. There's on deck, below deck, and above deck. And then I try to make it where people have to work in teams. At least at some point you have to collaborate with somebody in a different space. And I try to put a lot of little surprise spaces in, and the little, because that aha moment, that's what you're going for.
Yeah, it is. I must admit. So the one that I did through work, there was 3 separate rooms that we found our way through, and you basically have to solve the puzzle to get into the next room.
Right.
And that moment, that especially when that first one clicked, you thought, you know what? Yeah, we're getting out of here, and we're going to be the first team to get out of it. And then you're in another room, you think, oh, balls. Do this again.
Yes.
But it's the same as anything. Like when you completing a level, or on a computer game, that level of satisfaction that you get from it, it's great. How close then are the escape rooms that you're creating now to that first one that you created?
Oh, wow. So the first one I created was super, super simple, but people found it very difficult. So what I did in that room, I left all of the things you could see just about, like, especially to start. I mean, there was so many things around the room you could start working on, and people just, I think because this is something I learned in the process. If it's out in the open, people don't give it much value. But if they have to find it, they give it a lot more value. So there's things that I started out with, like all of my rooms evolve as I watch them, like if people are getting stuck at a certain spot, I try to change that. But I found that like when people don't have to find something, they don't pay attention to it. They don't give it value. They don't think that it's something that they can use. And my first room was very, very literal, and it was very like, and it was hilarious because once they figured that out, they were like, oh my God, like it's right here in front of us, right?
Yeah.
So, but now I've put in a lot more like little surprise moments, a lot of things that open that they didn't think were going to open, or when you open it, it's not what it looks like on the other side. Those kind of things. I think even if somebody doesn't make it out of a room, I try to make it where they can at least get to a certain spot where something thrilling happened that they're like, oh, what? Like they weren't expecting, you know? So would you like, for instance?
Yes, please.
My favorite is the treehouse room that I just did. There's like about 2 years of research. So I read several. Now I take stories out of history and I make escape rooms about those stories. So that's probably a preface I should have. So they're all true stories. And this one is about us during our Civil War. The town that the escape room is in. One of the troops, the people that were coming through the opposite side, they crossed over in this town. So anyway, you're a kid, because it really, in real life, there was a little 12-year-old girl that came over from another town and warned the people that they were coming. So under the city were tunnels, and they started putting people into the tunnels under the city, like women and children, right? Valuable things, because the raiders didn't know that the tunnels were even there. So in this story, you're 12 years old, and you have a tree house. So you have to make it to your tree house, and then once they go through all the puzzles and they get all the stuff, there's this giant trunk up in the tree house, like an old trunk, and you have to it's got two big locks on it. They have to unlock it, and when they open it, there's steps going down. Nobody expects it. I mean, nobody is like,
Wow.
everybody's like, what? So they have to like climb into it and climb down these steps. And then there's a slide going into the other room. And then they're in the tunnels. And then they're like, what? So
Nice.
yeah, that's my favorite. I like to have the entering, like when you convert from one room to the next room, I like to put something in there that's like shocking, not in a bad way, but like shocking. Like I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be cool. That would be the last thing you'd expect to anyway.
Right. Right.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I mean, you clearly, and I spoke to you earlier today when we were arranging this and chatting about it. It's one thing comes across even in your messages. You're very, very passionate about what you do, and you're very, very busy, aren't you? Because this isn't your only project. You're involved in a number of things.
Yes. 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 We are busy. Yes. We have a couple of different businesses, and yeah, we've got a lot going on.
Yeah, amen. And I can only thank you for taking the time to speak to us tonight.
No, absolutely. And just sort of one question, I suppose, just regarding the escape room, in terms of sort of the puzzles, where do you get the inspiration for the puzzles that you put into your rooms? Because I'm assuming that, I suppose, you would have to update the theme of the room or the puzzles within the room relatively regularly, so that effectively you try to hit that repeat trade, because you wouldn't go back to a room, I suppose, that you've already completed if the puzzles were all the same in that room, if that makes sense. So where do you draw your inspiration from the puzzles, and sort of how often do you then rotate them around?
So you'd be shocked how many people will come back especially if they don't make it out, they will come back.
Yeah, I suppose. Yes, yeah, I suppose I get that.
Yeah. But and I have people that just come back and like they'll wait, a while, and then come back and do it again. And also another thing, other than the 2 to 5 person room, the other rooms, anytime that I build a room, I try to make it where there's different spaces, so that like if you come and you do it, like say the treehouse room, and you're you're underneath the treehouse, it's made to look like it's an outside area, and then or you're in the top of the treehouse. 2 totally completely different rooms, totally completely different puzzles, but people will come and switch the place that they were in.
Yes.
So that they can experience the other part. So that's kind of one thing that I try to do to, get repeat customers. But the inspiration. So I'm kind of a different, I think differently than most people. And I didn't realize that until I started doing the escape rooms. I mean, I was, yeah. Anyway, I take things that you would probably throw away and I make something out of that. Like, and I just like, I look at it and I can instantly see it. And I don't, it's just, I, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. So for instance, is I took an old potato bin that was, going to be pitched, and it was about my height. And it had this, like drawer in the bottom for the potatoes or whatever, cleaned it up. I repainted it. I put some like sides on the top of it, and I made it into a tiki man. And it's got this drawer at the bottom that people don't even realize. And it was not intentional, but they don't realize it's a drawer because it kind of just, it looks the same all the way around. It was an unintentional hidden clue, right? But
Right.
I look at things and I think, how can I build a puzzle around that thing?
Right.
And it'll be something just random. It's just the way my brain works. It's weird.
No, I think, to be fair though, to be able to set quizzes like that, I think you have to have probably a unique thinking style, because
Yes.
first of all, you have to try, to try and solve a puzzle, you have to have a certain logic applied. So then you have to reverse that logic to set it so somebody can actually solve it.
Yeah.
It's a very different skill. It is a very different skill. So
And I suspect what you don't want, and again, you might tell me I'm wrong, but I suppose you don't want somebody or a group of 3 or 4 people walking into a room and literally within like 2 seconds, well, you've obviously just got to do that, and then you've obviously, and there has to be some element of thinking, some element of jeopardy, I suppose, in terms of can you figure it out in time or not. You don't want people just waltzing through the rooms because
right. Yeah,
what's the point, effectively?
Yeah, that is true. I don't really have that problem. I do have, like, one of the rooms that I have is about, it's a creepy story. It's not a scary story, but it's a creepy story. And but it's from the perspective of a 9-year-old girl. So everything is so super literal that they think it's going to be so much harder. And
Right.
I really was trying to make it an easy room. And they just overthink. It's so simple. They don't think it could be that simple, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they almost slap you in the face, obvious that it
Yeah,
makes it difficult. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. How difficult is it to balance that level of difficulty? You know what I mean? How difficult is it to gauge it? When you come up with an idea and you think, nobody's going to be able to get this, like I said, and then somebody just waltzes straight in and goes, "Got it."
Yeah, that it at first it was really difficult. The more I watched people, how people go through rooms, you would be surprised how similarly people go through the rooms. There's a lot of different personality types, but there's 2 main, like, I would put people in 2 main groups. There are intelligent people, and like people that are really intelligent and they're like, oh, I'm going to figure all of this out. And then there are people that have common sense. 2 totally different types of people. You rarely get both. Rarely. So rarely you get both. If you get both, they're making it out of the room. But I will say, usually intelligent people want to make it way more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
Common sense people are like, okay, let's go, they step by step. Let's figure it out step by step. And they're more likely to make it out, to be honest, just because that's their approach, instead of, making it way more difficult than it really needs to be.
It's the story of our lives, that, Gaza, I think.
Yeah, hit the nail on the head.
Oh, fascinating. So in terms of staff wise, then, is there do you require people to be in the room with the participants at the time? Do they have like a games master, or do they wait outside?
So, well, I'm very particular on who I do most of it, to be quite honest. Now my daughter is helping me, but you have to have there's nobody in the room with you. I'll just say
Right.
that the game master, we have a control room. We have cameras everywhere. We have sound back and forth. They can hear us. Well, when we turn it on, they can hear us, and we can always hear them. Right. because you have to know where they're at in order to know what, and you have to kind of gauge how fast they're working, how they're working, to be able to know like the next clue that they're going to need. Every group is so unique. They go through differently. It's just, it's kind of you have to be able to understand people. You have to be able to gauge every unique group. Like, it's a tough thing. It's a,
reading people is a difficult. It is very difficult because, like you say, no two people are alike. Everybody has different skill sets, and everybody applies their logic, knowledge, common sense, or what have you, in a different way. So I was just curious to see if you did employ anybody, what were the sort of things you'd be looking for. But obviously, an understanding of people is key.
Yes, that's probably the first. Common sense. I would take common sense over intelligence pretty much every time, all the time. It would have to be somebody that can read people and somebody that can remain calm, because a lot of times people, they'll get snarky and, like if they're not figuring it out and they think they should be, and so sense of humor is important. I'll joke with them, like just whatever, I can throw it right back at them, and I try to make them laugh instead of being frustrated.
Yeah,
I think that was going to be one of my questions was, how do you deal with, or do you get many people that, they get to a point and they're very much, excuse me, I mean, we can cuss on this, for fuck's sake, and they get proper, what we would call a bit antsy and a bit atsy in terms of, not being able to figure it out. And I'm not saying that they get ultimately aggressive, but how do you deal with that, those group of 3 or 4 people that they get so frustrated in either not being able to do it, or they think they've done something or actually it's not fucking working or whatever. And how do you deal with that?
Yeah. Well, so it depends on the group. There's times where I will walk in and do the thing, like I'll just walk into the room and do the thing that they were supposed to do, and they're like, like,
yeah.
Like, because they've been trying and they're like telling me, like you said, it's not working, and I'm like, oh, it's working, I know it's working. But and then there's times where I try to be kind of throw it at them a little bit funny, or my big thing is being able to give a clue to a group. And this is another thing, when you asked about a game master, you have to be able to give a clue to a group, not the answer. So you have to be able to give it to that group in a way that they are going to have the aha moment of figuring out the answer without being told the answer.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess if you just give people the answers, that's it. It's like, they're not going to get any level of sort of excitement and that feeling of success out of it. So, just out of interest, then, just when you're talking about people's reactions, a couple of questions just sprung straight to mind. When you do these team building exercises and people, do this for team building purposes, have you ever seen it go completely wrong and like 2 people end up like at each other's throats and achieve the opposite? I'll take those. I know.
I think possibly we just lost that. I mean, surely I can imagine at some point you would have to get, you would. This is going to be awfully stereotypical, but you get the big brash man or woman going, oh, I can do everything, and why aren't you listening to me? And this, and then all of a sudden you get somebody else sort of not stand up to them necessarily physically initially, but they'll be like, no, I disagree with you. No, and then all of a sudden you can understand why there's an argument going on.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those things that I was quite conscious of when I did it, that potentially, someone, could lose their patience. Difficult, that is to lose their patience with me. But yeah, I think we've lost our guest, Gary.
Yes, by the looks of that, it looks like we have, unfortunately. I mean, obviously we can carry on talking about escape rooms.
We can, or while we're waiting, one of the things that we can talk about was something we were going to talk about with our guest. So have you? So when we had Scott Burks on, you said you were going to have a go at geocaching. Have you done that yet?
No, because I've been out of the country pretty much.
You can do it out the country.
And it's weird. Genuinely, I haven't. And I know that you've obviously, you've done it quite a lot, and you've sort of bitten the geocache bug. But it's weird because we did, myself and my wife, we downloaded the walks of the Peak District, this, that, and the other, and actually, it was the wife that sort of said, "I wonder whether or not there'll be a geocache up here." And I said, "Oh, I'm sure there is." And I didn't log on as such, and I didn't check. But everywhere I go now, I'm thinking, I wonder whether there is one, and I really should just
do it, dude.
Do it, because I know you're like proper in it, aren't you? And I know, I was saying, I know your kids love it as well and stuff. So
yeah, 100%. Hi, Cheryl, are you back? No, I thought she was. It looked like she was there for a second. But no, yeah, we were in Wales just recently. Just on the weekend, we went to Triada Bay and Rosnaga. Yeah, did a bit of geocaching while we were there, and it was fantastic. All around the bay of Triada, if you're familiar with it, there were some great geocaches there. Did our first Earth caches. Wasn't a big fan of them. Oh, here we go.
Guys, I'm so sorry.
Hi, and with video as well. Amazing.
There you go.
There we go. That's better.
So sorry. I don't know where I left off.
Oh no! Don't worry about it. We filled it. I promise you,
nobody would know. Seamless, absolutely seamless.
The gist of it is, if you're creating aha moments throughout the process, they hopefully don't get to the place where they're so frustrated down there.
Yeah.
So the question I was just asking was, so when you get people on and they're doing these team building exercises, have you ever had a situation where it's had the opposite effect and it's fractured the team and you've had a couple of people falling out where they disagreed over a puzzle?
Oh yeah.
I can imagine lots of times.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, so like a lot of times in work situations, so if it's a genuine team, like are you like coworkers? Is that what you're sports teams? We get sports teams. So you can definitely see the personalities come out. You see the leaders, you see the followers, you see the people you see the class clown, you see all the different types of people. But yeah, families are the worst, to be honest.
I can imagine,
absolutely. They will, like, I've had people almost get physical.
Wow.
Like, hey, it's just a game, but a lot of times, most of the time, either their supervisor or manager is in the room with them. There's a few that come in often. They bring in teams and stuff like that, and I'll allow them to be in the control room with me and watch. And I've had them ask me questions too, like, what did you see in this person, or did you see any standouts? And there usually are standouts. There's usually people that are like, quick on their feet and you can tell the intelligent people versus the common sense people, just that kind of thing.
But again, I suppose it would be fascinating, because I suppose a microcosm of any team dynamic, you need the leaders, you need the doers, you need the thinkers, you need all of these different people, and the thinker will be the direct. Well, actually, I think we need to do that for that one. So can you go and do that? And then you'll get a doer that'll go and do it. The thinker might not go and do it, but somebody else will go and do it. So you get all those group dynamics, I suppose. And it must be fascinating to see in that environment, is the thinker.
Yes, it is.
Always the thinker in every aspect, or actually just sometimes they get stuck and it's like, I can't figure this out. And then somebody else steps in and goes, well, that's pretty obvious. It's that. And you see the dynamics almost shift, I suppose.
Yes, you do. You do see the shift. And even people that I know that have went into the room, they'll take on a different role, depending on the other people that are in the room. It's very fascinating. I've always been a studier of the brain and how people work and why they work that way. I've taught, quite a few classes, and the first thing I always do is have everybody take a personality test, so I know how to deal with each individual person. But that's something that I definitely, you can tell the different personalities. It's sometimes it's kind of shocking. We had a husband and wife come through one time, just a little, they came through and the husband walks out and he's like, you almost caused a divorce. And my husband, without skipping a beat, looks at him, and he's like, "You should try making them together if you think that was good."
Wow.
So yeah.
Oh no, fair play, fair play. So in terms of, like we said, you said when you first did that escape room, they weren't hugely popular, but there's
No.
been a real rise in popularity recently.
Yeah.
You know, what have you seen in terms of the trends that now? That you must be, obviously you're quite studious, I can tell that. The change in trends in terms of them, or in terms of escape rooms, and what attracts people to do them more.
Um, we're in a smaller town. There's not a lot of things to do. And we're also surrounded by a lot of rural area. So for us, that's kind of a good thing because that kind of supports, what we do. There's a lot of people. I market to a lot of people that other people wouldn't market to, just because I know that from living in the rural area, if you live out there, you know that you're driving to go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, that, like, if I'm going to go do something fun, I'm driving this way or I'm driving this way, but I'm driving somewhere to do it because there's nothing here.
Yeah.
As far as like trends, I feel like there's a lot of things, like, I think a lot of people throw an escape room together and think, oh, this is going to make me money. And like, I'm not saying that you don't make money, but you're not getting rich off of an escape room.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you scale it. And the ones that have scaled, that I've seen that have scaled, you lose the quality. You lose that, the personal touch, that's a lot of the reviews we get are, oh, the owners were great. And,
Yeah.
the people that were working there were awesome, things like that. So I feel like they kind of put generic things together. I feel like redoing things using somebody else's puzzles. I try to be very intentional about being original as possible.
Yes. Yeah.
So that when people, and I hear that a lot too, like, you rarely get people that we call they've done more than a few, like they've done 100 or 50 or 150 or 200 escape rooms, and they'll come in. That's a totally different market, I would say, than like our general population market. But I do hear, oh, you have a lot of original stuff. They're coming in looking for the same things that they found in all the other escape rooms, and they're not finding that, and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So
That's good, though, isn't it?
In terms of, obviously you mentioned, you try to keep your escape rooms sort of based upon sort of real life stories or so forth, stories from history. So what would, is there an escape room that is the golden nugget for you? Is there a story out there in history that you think, I genuinely would love to do an escape room based around that story? And if so, what would it be? And do you think you'll ever get to that?
I hope I do. There's so many. I mean, I try to find stories that people haven't heard of, or that
Right.
I've heard very little about, just to kind of bring out the fact that there's, just looking at something a different way, like, they're learning as they're going through, which I'm not a teacher, but
Yeah.
like to teach. And especially like with kids learning history, there's so little of that these days. It's shocking when they come in, the things that they don't know or haven't heard of, that I feel like that, especially a teenager should have heard of this, especially the local story. But as far as, I would really like, it's a very touchy subject, but to do something along the lines of like the Holocaust, or the Underground Railroad. Those are that would take a lot of, you'd have to have kid gloves.
Yeah.
Because people, those are very controversial things, so you'd have to be very careful about how you did this. And those are two things that I've looked at doing for a long time. I also just because it's fun. And it's not really history, but so I did do a room that was the movie Elf.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
It was a
Great.
Christmas theme week. It was a short, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And right now I'm actually working on a gaming, like have to be a pixelated video
Okay.
game room, and then a legacy game, like Bowser's Castle, like old
Nice.
old school.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
so like you physically have to do the puzzles that you would have to do. You physically have to do those things.
Sounds amazing.
That does
But
sound amazing.
yeah, the one that I would really love to do, and I feel like I could do it well, and I collected a lot of the stuff to do it, and ended up the space did not work out because you would have to have a very large space to do it. It would be the Office theme. That was very big here. Even junior high kids, they know that,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
they watch it. It's funny. It cracks me up. I'm like, what are you watching that for? But they do. They watch it.
I tell you what, I love The Office.
Yeah.
We had a different version of it. We do
Right.
get the American version.
We
as
do
well.
get the American version as well. Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think our version, yours was first, and ours was
Yes.
based off of
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a slight aside, I remember watching the first episode of The Office, and nobody really heard of the main actor as such that was in it.
right.
And I remember watching it thinking, is this real? Because I didn't know whether it's a documentary or effectively what it turned out to be. And I was like, what am I watching here? And the first episode felt really creepy because I was like, oh my God, are they really? And then obviously you cut on it. And I remember just thinking, wow. And then obviously you see the American version. And I think because the English version came first and we knew it was a spoof.
Yeah.
Then you watch the American version. And I don't know whether it's the same for you guys, but I just remember that first episode of watching going,
yeah,
hey, what am I watching?
Yeah. Yep. Same.
It's so funny. So funny.
Yeah.
Was Steve Carell? He was in that. Was he famous before he did The Office?
So I think during the filming of The Office, he filmed his first like major movie, but I don't remember him before that, or any, for that matter, none of the actors, which I think is what made it so great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And their chemistry was really, really good.
Did you see any of the UK version before the American version came out, or
I
I
didn't even know there was a UK version.
Right. Oh, okay.
Version came out. Yeah.
It's a very different animal. It's a very different animal. The UK sense of humor is slightly different to the American sense of humor. And
the first season was very much based on the UK, and then I think after that the American version changed.
Yes.
Yeah. We only ever had 2 seasons over here as well, and then they did a couple of Christmas specials, and that was it. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear about the Elf room though. As someone like myself who does love Christmas, guys, I don't know if I've ever mentioned that before.
Only every day.
Yeah. So what did that entail? And can you tell us a few tidbits about that?
Oh, that one was so much fun. So I had a small space to do it. So the first space that the gist of the story was you have to help Buddy find his way back to the North Pole because Santa's missing and the elves help, right? So you start at Gimbel's, the department store.
Yeah.
You got to do some things, and like part of it, like where he's in the mailroom with his dad, and like the sucky thing that goes up. Oh, that's very sucky, and got one of those things that gets sucked up in the teller, the teller, like so. Then my husband, he implemented that, and it opened a mailbox and it had a letter, and we did the like all the buttons on the tower, you have to push all the buttons, but they had to all be pushed at the same time. So it had, everybody had to be in on that.
Right.
We had a train puzzle that would just it was like hidden behind a thing, and then it would just come out, and we had the like a little hallway I had made as the 7 layers of the candy cane forest, the swirly twirly gumdrops, and and then you make it into Santa's workshop, um, and part of that was like where the elves where they're sitting learning all the elf rules. Remember,
Yeah.
treat every day like Christmas, like all those things. And then so part of it, there was I wish I had a picture of him. It was Leon the Snowman. My husband's name is Leon. So I had to do it. I had to make Leon the Snowman, and it looks very much like Leon the Snowman. It took me that prop alone probably took me 3 days to make.
Wow.
Because it had to be kind of like 2D. So I didn't have enough room for it to be like, a big snowman. It had to be on the wall. So I had to figure out how to incorporate that, like it was coming almost out of the wall. But you give him his like cane. He had a cane. You give him his cane, and he talks to you and tells you the next thing to do and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sounds incredible.
Oh yeah.
That was probably the funnest room I've ever made. Just coming up, because I had to watch that movie over and over, which I already had watched it over and over. And my kids, it's probably one of their favorite movies. So growing up, yeah. So.
Oh, I love that film. Yeah, I love that film.
Yeah.
So in terms of creating these rooms, and just out of interest, you talked about like making Leon there taking 3 days. How long does it take to get the ideas down on paper and then get it from paper into sort of reality? How long does that take?
Oh, that's a funny question. So I have a really hard time getting it on paper. It's in my brain.
Yeah.
I know I can see the end result. So the problem, the hard part is, so I'm not an artist. I have a hard time drawing, but I can paint. But like my husband, he will tell you this. He says, I live in a box. It's this big. It's square. There's no round. There's nothing round. There's no angles. It's white. It's this big. And, like that's where he lives. And I'm like, anything's possible. Like anything. And so I'll like explain to him. I'll explain what I've got in my brain. And he's like, okay, this is at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I got it. And then he'll build something. And I'm like, what is that? Like, and he's like, that's what you said. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't even understand what you did there. So like getting past that barrier of, so now I'm very specific and being like, okay, now you understand I need this to happen. And then I need this to happen. And I need it to look like this. And so like when I do a lot of the props, he does the building part, and he does the parts that like where the magic happens, the behind the scenes stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
He does most of that. Or if it's a big prop or something like that, like something that I, can't handle by myself, he'll help me with those things. He'll do them.
And do you do all of the props effectively between the two of you, or do you don't outsource to anybody like a carpenter or anything like that? Is it just you guys doing it?
Yep. One time,
Wow.
My brother will come and help once in a while, or my daughter. One time I bought a lobby puzzle, and I did use that in the elf room because it was a Christmas. I would say that's a cute one. So it was these blocks. I bought it from a different escape room not because I really wanted the thing. I wanted to meet the people at the escape room.
Right.
And they had it up for sale, and it was somebody that was within a couple hours drive. But it was a puzzle, and which I thought was very clever. They did it different than I did. I kind of changed how you do it, but I took out all of the blocks, and you put the pieces back, and it's the alphabet, right? But there's the L is missing. So
Right.
The answer is Noel.
Noel. Yeah.
Noel. Yeah. So that was the clue. That was the code that they Noel. So and that was in that room. That was a fun thing. But other than that, I've never bought anything or had anybody else. Yeah. We do all of our
That must be so late. That must be so. I mean, I say labor of love, but also very, let's say labor intensive, and it must put an incredible strain, I suppose, on you, Leon, I suppose, because in your mind, you've got it what it should look like, and
Yes.
He's trying to interpret that, and you're saying, no, that's wrong. And he's like, well, explain it properly then. Well, I
Yes.
am. No, you're not. Yes, I
Yes.
am. And that
That's
must
pretty
be.
much right. Yeah, that's it right there. When I have a brother that so I have two brothers. Well, I have more than two brothers, but I have two brothers that live close, and one of them is a coroner, and that's a whole different story. But the other one, he very much thinks like I do, but he also knows how to build it. So he understands what I'm saying, and he can translate it into man talk for my husband.
Right.
So that's really nice when that happens, when he comes and helps. So yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And the other thing that we haven't touched on as part of this business as well, guys, is axe throwing. Axe throwing you do there as well. That's become incredibly popular of recent as well, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yep. There's we don't get them as much now. I think people kind of changed the way they did business, but we used to get a lot of groups. So there's some local companies that are global, and we would get a lot of groups that would come in, and it would be people from like Germany or China or other places, and they just could not understand the concept of having an axe and throwing it like it wouldn't be legal, and where they live. So they're just like, they just were always just so perplexed, like what, like. So yeah, that's fun. We actually kind of changed what we do, but it's all glow in the dark, so it's a lot of that's a lot of fun. I think we have a lot of lights and paint.
So when you say glow in the dark, then, because my mind immediately goes to throwing axes in the dark.
Not, we have enough light that you can see what you're doing, but it's black light mostly. We have a little bit of ambient soft light, but it's mostly black light.
Oh, cool.
Have you axe thrown?
Do you know I haven't?
I haven't either.
Just recently, they did a day at work, like one of the night outs was axe throwing, and I couldn't go because I think it was a Thursday night when my wife is out at Brownies with my daughter, and I didn't get to go. So I'm absolutely gutted because I would be terrible at it. I'd be terrible at it.
Yeah, you would be. Yeah.
Have a good instructor, hopefully, and if you listen to the instructor and what they're telling you, we actually did tomahawk throwing and knife throwing. Competition.
Wow.
And we actually went to an axe throwing arena like right after we opened the escape room, and my husband's like, oh, we're doing this, we're going to put this in there. And I was like, yeah, it's obvious. Like he had already been teaching scout troops, how to do tomahawk throwing and so, other youth groups and stuff. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us, just, it was a natural progression, I guess.
Oh, fair play. Yeah, I was gutted to miss out on that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been very good at it.
No, terrible. I'll stick to my arrows. I'm not that good at that either, but that's another matter. So, like you said, we said here at the start then as to how we got in contact with you. We'll come back to your business in a little bit, but I want to touch on. I don't even know how, given how busy you are, how you have time for pastimes. To be honest with you,
but I don't.
But so we got in contact via a geocaching page on Facebook. Yep. And one of the other things that you told us, which is different to geocaching, is treasure hunting. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, well, I've done a couple. I've participated in a couple, and I'm participating in one right now that's in the U.S. It's a national treasure hunt, and the gist of it is he wrote a book. There's 5 treasures, but it's the stories are all stories, historical stories. It's all historical items and stuff like that, mostly historical items, and they're all stories about the historical item, and in those stories there are clues, and I'm like, this is my brain, like this is how I, right? So I do have a spot for one of the boxes that I've been to, that we are actually getting ready to make our 4th boots on the ground trip, and it is about a 20-hour drive from where.
Wow.
though, and I'll be going for the 4th time. But I have it honed down to a smaller area, and I'm pretty for certain about it, which everybody is when they have their soul, right?
Yeah.
But the one that I participated in prior to this, I bought a book, and it wasn't as widely known as this one. But I get the book, I read the book, I work on it maybe a few weeks, and I go to my husband and I'm like, I show him this trail and I'm like, I think it's on this trail in this state. And then I'm like, it can't be that easy. Like, it just can't be that easy, because his was, kind of a lot of history and stuff too. And I was like, I'm gonna study it some more. So we did a lot of boots on the ground, mostly just for fun, right? It was on that trail, and I didn't go.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I lamented that for quite some time. So when I got this book, I was like, I'm going. When I figure it out, like, I'm gonna go. So I made myself come up with 3 separate solves, 3 different states. Like, I'm like, when I finish reading this book, I'm gonna have 3, like the 3 top places, and then I kind of just ruled them out one by one.
Yeah.
Just follow the clues. It's so much fun. Like, to me, it's probably the most fun I've ever had. Just trying to clues, and then you're physically going out to look for this thing, right?
Yeah.
You're like, this is out here. It's a real thing, and it's out there, and maybe I can find it.
I mean, America. We joked earlier. I mean, America is a big place. Is there like are there regional finds or treasures? I mean, you mentioned like 20 hours. I mean, you're not going to go from the East Coast to West Coast, I assume. I mean, I don't know. Is that something you would do? I don't know.
I would, personally.
Yeah.
But so my thing is, the place that I'm going, it's a higher altitude area, and I get altitude sickness. So, and I know that about myself. If I fly in, I would take 2 to 3 days to acclimate before I would be able to go up in elevation anymore. So we drive, which is that's a lot. But there are people that do, and so this one, the one that I'm working on currently, he designed it so that it's in 5 different states. And he's given some regions for some of them, and other ones not.
Right. Okay.
The one I'm working on didn't have a region or area. Like, no, it's
just got to figure it out wherever it is. That's where you go.
Yeah. It's the biggest one, and it's it's
pretty exciting by the sounds of it.
Yeah,
I am so excited.
We should have a look at in the UK.
I'll come back and tell you about it if I find it.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Yeah,
we would, especially if you solve it and you come out trumps.
Yeah,
It shows like this. Yeah, I told everybody. Yeah. I knew.
But it's so, to me in my brain, I'm just going, well, like this is where the clues lead. Like, if you just read it, like, and I haven't heard anybody even come close to where I'm looking. Like, not even a little bit. And I'm just like, but it tells you, like if you read it, like, it literally tells you. And
well, don't be giving away any secrets now. You keep that to yourself. We're trying to be very careful. We have got lots of listeners in America, so we're not giving anything away now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we need to see if they do something like that in the UK, guys. And that could be us on an adventure.
An adventure,
because literally a 15-hour drive in the UK is north coast to south coast a couple of times.
Literally a couple of times over. You could probably go literally like, sort of top of the Shetland Islands or Orkney Islands all the way back. I mean, it is twice over. It's probably 4 or 5 hours top to bottom sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I say about it's there and back and there.
And there back, yeah. Oh, there's sort of a book there.
There's a book in there.
There is somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And do you get much time for geocaching then? And is there much to do locally there in Ohio, which is related to Indiana?
There's a lot more than I thought there would be. It's a lot of backcountry roads. So like where we are, it's very rural. And there's a lot of hanging in trees or, things like that. Or I've had them hidden in cemeteries and just, just some interesting places. I don't get to do that as much as I would like to do it just because I'm so busy.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to do it more, but I try to like take something to put in the cache. Usually like googly eyes, something like that. Sometimes if the cache is big enough, I'll leave a gift card like for our escape room. Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
oh, wow. Imagine finding that.
I know, yeah. And Adam sort of loves his geocaching now, and we had a couple of geocaches on, and I think he sort of bit the bug, and we were like, oh, I wonder whether there are any in our, we live in a relatively small town called Alsage, and I wonder whether there are any, and Bean sort of went out with wife and kids, and he's like, there are some literally like wherever you look type thing.
Yep.
And you've sort of proper bit in the bug, haven't you? You do it quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I love it. Well, we were in Wales on the weekend, and sister-in-law has a caravan out there. We'd stayed in a hotel nearby. And I said to Kim, say, you're not working this week. I know I'm not working this week. I'll come, but on one condition. I can bring my geocaching bag and I can shove some keychains in some boxes. And yeah, we loved it. Yeah, we did a few, and we brought the whole of the Wise family out, dragged them along with us as well. And they loved it too.
It's a ton of fun. Well, if you like that, I would highly I don't know, like in your area, if there are treasure hunts over there, but there's quite a few over here. Like, I wish I had time to work on them all. Like if I had extra time, right, I would sit down. I would be working a lot of them just for fun. But
we need to check that out. I mean, I don't know what, genuinely, I haven't heard of anything like that, but
for me, it was just like the way that the first one that I even heard about, it was like, it was actually a preacher, and he had hid so he had stuff from like Israel, coins that were like from the time of Jesus, right? Like, wow. A lot of old artifacts like that, like in history is my thing, and I was like, that's really cool. So and then the next one, this one that I'm working on right now, I've heard there's some local ones that are like a lot smaller, right? But this one that I'm working, the big one that I'm working now, it was my husband, it came across his feed, and he was like, oh boy, I don't know if I should send this to her. But he did, and like I watched it, and I know, like I felt my heart drop. I was like, because that other one had just been found in this very first spot that I said, I think it's in this state. I was devastated because I didn't go. I mean, it was my fault. I was just like, it can't be that easy. It just can't be that easy.
Wow.
But we, anyway, I did, he sent it to me, and like I watched, by the end of the video, I had already pre-ordered the book. Like I didn't even like, oh, this is mine.
Oh yeah, we'll take a look, and we'll fill you in on any that are here in the UK. We might even tap you up for some hints and tips.
Yeah, I would be happy. I think most of the time people just like very much like escape rooms, and the fellow that actually made this, he actually said, go to an escape room, and I'm like, oh, this is my So I suspect that he did speak with some content creators, because the things that he has in there, it just, to me, seem very much like it would be something that would be in an escape room.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, we normally wrap these things up round about the hour mark, but Cheryl, we can't let you go without giving a shout out to where we can find you online and on social media. And I will add some tags into the show notes for the audio version of the podcast as well, so people can click on it and find you.
Okay. Yeah. It's thesweetescaperoom.com. That's, you can book escape rooms and axe throwing there. And you can find us on Facebook at the Sweet Escape Room, or Sweet Axe Escape for the axe throwing. Yeah. Cool.
Well, I'll stick some of those links. Like I say, we'll stick those in the show notes. One question I do have to ask, though, before you go. So one thing I've thought while I've been listening throughout this, and when you're doing these escape rooms, who gets more fun, the people in the escape room or you watching people?
Probably me.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
Yeah, I can tell
Yeah.
you're fascinated by people, aren't you?
Yeah, well, when you're watching people, it's just kind of you're reading them, and some groups are so funny. I get people that dance. I get people that do. I had one room where you had to turn out the lights, and it was my aunt and uncle, y'all. And they turned out the light thinking I couldn't see it. I was like, "Oh, hey."
Ah, brilliant. You shouldn't be doing that in an escape room.
Don't if you think that because the lights are out they can't see you, they can see you better.
Put it away.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's worth knowing, guys.
Brilliant. Oh, yeah, mental note.
Yes.
For next time, well, for the first time you do an escape room, keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you got any questions for Cheryl, guys, before we let her go?
No questions really. It's more just, thank you so much. I mean, I've genuinely the hours flown by, and we've had a laugh, we've had a good chat. Just the insight into how the philosophy of the rooms come about has been intriguing to me, and I can't believe that you do it all yourself, and you just that from concept to reality, everything is you doing it, which blows my mind. I mean, hats off to you. You must be an incredibly busy person, and again, just echoing what Adam said earlier, just thank you so much for giving up an hour of what will be your very precious time just to come on and talk to
it was fun.
Two lads from the UK.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for having.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, like Gaz says, for freeing up the time to talk to us. And like we say, if we do find a treasure hunt here in the UK, and when we inevitably get stuck on the first clue, we'll drop you a message.
You might be surprised, but hey, send me a yeah.
It'll be Cheryl, help.
Yeah,
that's it'll be.
Yeah, I've thought about this.
I would be happy.
I've thought about this for 2.5 minutes and I can't solve it.
I would love to do that.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. So thank you very much for joining us. And we will be back next week when we'll be talking about something entirely different altogether. Take care.
Friends around the mic, kicking back, all right. Day turns into night, podcast in the spotlight.